You're good. Maybe over there. That's it, dude. You're good. Come on.
All right, we're gonna get going. Is that 2 hours? You're good. Yeah. All right. So first, thank you for coming out to our event, Bruce. We really appreciate you attending. So thank you so much for coming. So we're gonna have a fun panel and a fun event this evening. But as some of you know, the regulars, I have a little agenda that I have to run here really quick. Sign up for the state fair. The state fair is 11 to 21 October. We have a booth there. During the mornings on the weekdays, it's fine to sometimes just have one person there, but we need to staff that the whole way through. Look, as good as we're doing in Wake County with candidates, it's definitely something we're doing. So if you can volunteer and pull just 1 3-hour shift at the booth at the state fair and explain to people why the Libertarian Party is so awesome, that would be hugely appreciated. As far as other good news, canvassing, signs, social media, we're getting noticed. I mean, whether it's coworkers or people stopping you, stopping your wife and asking about, are you running for this or what have you? It's happening. I mean, the good news is we actually have enough signs out where, Brad's talked about this when he was out canvassing, that people are noticing that we're actually running real campaigns, and I've had coworkers come up to me. With that in mind, early voting starts in 2 weeks. So we are working on canvassing. Robin, Bruce, Jeff Matemu are handling Southern Wake. Brad Hessel and Mike Nelson and myself are working in Northern Wake. Nothing beats, it's easy and yet it's time consuming, but nothing beats knocking on somebody's door and actually having a 5-minute conversation. Lets everybody know that you're actually legit and real and you're running for office. So consider helping with that effort. Look, people are still predicting a low voter turnout. The unaffiliated could have an outsized impact, and those are the voters that we're going after. Those millennials that are unaffiliated, they're kind of not happy with either of the other parties. So I just can't emphasize enough, this is a real opportunity for us to have a huge impact in Wake, especially considering the number of people running. With that in mind, I'm going to name a few, but I don't want this to turn into the Emmys or something like that. Thank you, Ken, Brad, Amy, Brian, JD. JD is not here, but he's doing a lot of work for us right now with Excel and other stuff, just trying to get voter lists organized for direct mail. Again, some of the challenges that we're having, I'll admit to not having it perfectly nailed down. Those are problems we've never faced, as far as actually having money to spend and spend it wisely and quickly on getting things out there. But as you can see with some of the literature I've left on the tables, I mean, the branding is becoming fairly consistent, and that's getting us noticed. When you have to punch above your weight, the other parties, they don't help candidates. We have made a real effort to make sure that we get behind each of the candidates that wants to be active, and by kind of making the branding similar, the signage similar, what have you, it's working. It is having an impact. So with that, our next event, besides the state fair next week, the hemp store will be here to talk about what is currently legal in North Carolina. I know how some of you feel about other things becoming legal, and that's great. But with that in mind, we'll get to our panel. Several of us thought this would be a good idea, or we wanted to have this panel because so many things have gone right over the last couple of years, but those things wouldn't have gone right without the efforts of these people in front of us and a lot of other people for fighting for things like ballot access. So Bobby Emory, Phil Jacobson, Barbara Howe, who's also running for Congressional District 4. Bobby's running for North Carolina House 38. Brian Irving comes with the number. North Carolina Senate 16. We wouldn't be the party we are today without these 4. So I'm now going to silence myself and let each person introduce themselves and talk.
Testing. I'm Bobby Emory. I've been in the party for quite a while.
Bobby, hold the mic real close to your mouth.
Now, does this work better? Yeah, I can hear it. I'm Bobby Emory. I've been in the party for a long time, done a little bit of everything in the party, and we'll come back later and go over some of that.
I'm Phil Jacobson. I've done a few things with the party too, mostly on the executive committee. I've been chair twice. I think each of us have been chair at one time or another.
I'm Barbara Howe. I've been on the executive committee. I've run for governor 3 times, and I am currently back on the executive committee. I'm running for U.S. Congress.
Pardon me, I'm the newest of the elders. I've been involved with the party since '93 when Sean Howe recruited me to be press secretary. Pretty much been on the executive committee every year, except for a couple of years where I got burned out for a while. Since then, run for office, this is my 8th time. I've been involved in helping form, started out with Cumberland County and a few other counties. And, fight the good fight.
As I said before, I've done a little bit of everything. I've run for every kind of office from sheriff to U.S. senator. Been proud of some of my results. I ran for the U.S. House of Representatives, did not set foot in the district during the entire election campaign and got 1,000 votes. So I thought that was very efficient. As far as organized things in the party, I joined the party on July the 4th, 1976. I figured I'd be able to remember that day. The party had been founded about 4 years before that in 72. I'm not sure when we got started in North Carolina. I think it's something like 74. But by 76, there was a party for me to join, and I did. Later on, I became chair, was chair for a while, and then through a couple of circumstances, turned it over to Phil, and Phil became chair, and he asked me to be vice chair, and I said I didn't want to be too active, and he said, well, the vice chair doesn't do anything, and we had a big problem at that point with state chairs moving out of state, so I asked him if he was planning to move, and he swore to me he was not going to move. Well, you can guess how this turned out. He resigned as chair, and I was back being chair again. But he had a good excuse. He is very adamant that we have a history of getting on the ballot, and that's a big part of our history, and certainly it has been. He wanted to become chair because he wanted to take the party in the direction of education and teaching people about libertarianism. And he did not get along well with the presidential candidate, who was Andre Maru, who wanted to get North Carolina on the ballot. We thought there was no chance of us getting on the ballot because the requirements were so high. But Andre Maru thought he could do it. And Phil recognized that he wouldn't get along very well with Andre, so he resigned so that I could become chair and I would be dealing with Andre Maru. And I don't claim that Andre Maru is the perfect person, but I got along with him pretty well. And he was true to his word, and much effort on our part, much effort on his part, mainly in the form of money. And we were on the ballot. We got on the ballot. I've been there, done that, and have the T-shirt to prove it. So we have done a lot of things over the years, and have helped grow the party in many different ways. I still very much agree with Phil's position that we need to be working on education to educate both our people inside the party about all aspects of libertarianism, and to educate the general public on what a libertarian is, to reassure them that it's not just that we want to smoke weed. There are other issues that we are interested in.
Thank you, Bobby. Can you hear it? Yes, we did some other educational things as well. I'd like to point out, though, that ballot access was a major obstacle. When I came to join the party, I had been in the state before working with the party out of Fayetteville, but really nothing was happening down there. I moved to Tennessee, and when I came back in '87, I found a party that was very demoralized because laws had been passed in the wake of the Jimmy Carter election, which made it very difficult for us to get on the party, or any other non-Republican, non-Democrat get on the ballot. So we had at that point, we'd acquired the burden of, we needed to have a huge petition drive to get on the ballot at all. And then we were supposed to get 10% of either the governor's or the president's vote total in order to stay on the ballot, which was an insurmountable task. This was never achieved by any other party other than the Democrats and the Republicans. We did a number of ballot access drives, and it tended to exhaust us. So by the time we got back on the ballot, all the energy, and this required cash, we had to hire petitioners in addition to the volunteers just to get on the ballot. We did do some additional things, however. When I came back, one of the things that people asked me to do, because I'd done it in Tennessee, was we started having protests of the tax, April 15th tax day. At one point, we were doing some work with the ACLU on the drug war. And we have done some work with the ACLU, not the ACLU, the ACLU was working with us on the drug war. With the NAACP, we're expecting some civil rights activities in Durham. Sean Howe was very active with that. He's not here today to talk about that. But for the most part, we were plugged in ballot access concerns. And that continued through the time I was chair. I was actually chair twice. My second term as chair, we actually experienced the legislature loosening on the rules that we now have came into play. But I will let Barbara catch you up to that point.
Oh, Bill was going to steal all my thunder. Oh, not to. I always like to start my story with my return to North Carolina as a Libertarian in 1984, and I'm receiving an order from Laissez-Faire Books. And the UPS driver drops by my door, and he's delivering my books, and he says, "Are you Libertarian?" And he says, "Well, yes." He says, "Well, I'm state chair." So that was Craig Springer back in 1984. And I think at about that time we had 60 Libertarians in the state. Sure.
I was convinced at the time and remain convinced today that the reason Wake County is so strong is because of Craig Springer. He had a booth at the flea market, and still does to this day, and got a lot of libertarians recruited, and that's what has helped drive our numbers over the years. I think he is really true to what we have done in Wake County.
Commercial interruption. Thank you. I will give you some actual numbers. The 1988 ballot drive, the 1988 number on which the 1992 ballot drive was based was 2,219,666 votes for governor. 2% of that, which is the number of required ballot signatures that we had to collect, was 44,393. Now, to collect a ballot signature, to get enough to cover ballot signatures, all these signatures have to be verified by each county board of elections. There are 100 counties in North Carolina, people. That's a lot of work. But to collect that number of signatures, you have to gather about 30 to 50% more than the verified number you need, because they're going to be ruled invalid for one reason or another. They can't read them, the person's dead, or they don't live in that district, or they just can't find them. So that's a lot of numbers. The most recent ballot drive that we had to complete to get back on the ballot for the 2008 election was based on the election in 2004. And the vote in that election was 3,486,688, making 2% of that number, 69,734. I was involved in the executive committee at that time, and I used to dream that number, 6,734, all the time, because that's a hell of a lot of signatures. I think we might have turned in 115,000 signatures, something like that. It cost almost $2.5 $250,000, $250,000. Countless hours, countless man hours and woman hours, going up to strangers and saying, please, may I have your signature on my petition so that my party may participate in the general election? You get a lot of no's. You get a lot of, we don't want libertarians on the ballot. We don't want anybody on the ballot. So it's really a gut-wrenching, awful task. I'm convinced that if we had to do another petition drive based on that 2% number, I don't think we could do it. Based on the 2% number, if we were to have to do a petition drive today, the number would be 94,220. So fortunately, when the legislature changed a few of the rules, we're now pretty much assured of maintaining ballot access. A, we are getting 2% of the vote for governor. And B, they changed the rule about how many presidential ballots you're on. 35? You're covered. I'll shut up now. Anyway, so it's a lot of work, but don't be complacent. The General Assembly can change the law at any time. So that's a little bit of the history. Hope you never have to do a petition drive, but if you do, remember this. Freedom is worth it.
Yeah, I think the whole purpose of this panel is to emphasize the fact that many of the new people coming into the Libertarian Party don't get the fact that we used to have to spend all our time, all our effort, all our resources, all our money just to get on the ballot. Now, we're talking about potentially 94,000 signatures plus. We're talking about 100, maybe 125,000 signatures to get on the ballot, if that law was still in effect. We couldn't do it. North Carolina is growing. Something just over, I think there's almost 7 million registered voters right now. That number's going up every year. My involvement in, so if we did it, if we had to do that, we'd be dead. I hope we keep that in mind. I can't emphasize that enough. The way to avoid doing that is to elect libertarians to office, or at least scare the bejesus out of the establishment parties that we can make a difference. That's what we got to do. And that's what Phil and I, as long as I've been involved in the party, Phil and I have been the yin and the yang about education versus electing people to office. Yes, we need to do both, but the best way to educate people is to run a political campaign. In 2008, we achieved a milestone. First time in the modern history of North Carolina where a third party, pardon the expression, managed to maintain ballot status by getting more than 3% for governor. 2% for governor. Mike Logan did that. Now, up until that point, it had been 10%. Part of the process that we were involved in, besides petitioning, was lobbying the General Assembly in conjunction with other parties, including the Green Party, to lower North Carolina's highly restricted ballot access laws. At one time, we had the most restricted laws in the nation. And we managed to get some reforms done. And so we got the 10% retention vote lowered from 10% of the vote for governor or president to 2%. And so in 2008, after a long, arduous ballot petition drive, which we basically had to pay for ourselves, we had some outside help, but basically it was North Carolinians spending the money and doing the work. We managed to get on the ballot. We got a candidate for governor who got just over 2% of the vote. So we jumped that hurdle. And then we spent the next 4 years freaking out that we had to do it again. And which Barbara managed to do in 2012. And then we spent the next 4 years freaking out because we had to do it again. And in 2016, Mark Cecil achieved that goal. Not only that, but Gary Johnson also got more than 2% of the vote for President of the United States. That was the first in North Carolina history. Up until then, the presidential candidate got less than 0.5% of the vote. So we have Since 2008, we have achieved some big stuff. Also, in this process, we were suing the state. Phil and Bobby know some about the early lawsuits. The most recent lawsuit was we challenged the entire scheme of North Carolina's electoral laws under the state constitution, not under the federal, under the state, talking about the right to assemble, free association, discrimination against political parties, yada, yada, yada. We had 4 or 5 points. That lawsuit was filed in 2007. The Green Party joined us. We paid for all lawyers. The Green Party got the ACLU to do it pro bono. Nonetheless, we managed to take that case up to the North Carolina Supreme Court. And as is usual in election law cases, the Supreme Court of the state said, no, it's okay. The legislature can make rules that restrict ballot access. So we ran into a dead end. But the point is, we did go through the full process. In last session, Barbara mentioned the reform. We got a major reform bill passed, and it totally came out of the blue. It's called Senate Bill 656. And I was working with the Green Party, the Constitution Party, in a group called Free to Vote NC on a ballot access reform bill to lower the threshold from current 2% petition signatures to 1/4%, which is about the national average. We had this bill working in committee, going back and forth, trying to get interesting aside, when the Democrats controlled the General Assembly, we worked with Republicans, mostly to get support, but we had to also work with Democrats to get the bills heard. With the Republicans in charge, we had to work with the Republican leadership and to get the bills heard and basically get Republican sponsors. And it's interesting how people's attitudes about ballot access changed when their party was in the majority. Several people that had championed ballot access reform bills when they were in the minority all of a sudden were our opponents. And some of them became the leaders of the General Assembly. I'm not going to mention any names, but you all know. At any rate, out of the blue, a state senator who had been a supporter of ballot access reform introduced a bill, SB 656, which not only lowered the threshold to 1/4%, but also put a little provision in it that said that if a political party is on the ballot in, we used a percentage, and I don't know what the percentage number is, but it's equivalent to 35 states. If a political party is on the ballot in those number of states and has a presidential candidate in those number of states, that party can petition to get on the ballot, can ask the Board of Elections to certify them in North Carolina. That was slipped into the bill. The initial version of the bill passed the state Senate almost unanimously and went to the House. And then this new provision was added, and then the Republicans started playing politics with it, and they added things about judicial primaries and this, that, and the other thing. The bill automatically got labeled as a judicial primary bill, but it was only one small provision of it. And so all the Democrats scattered to the four winds. They no longer support the bill. Nonetheless, it got passed by the General Assembly. And this is a major game changer, because not only did the Green Party qualify for the ballot this year, although they haven't fielded many candidates, the Constitution Party also qualified for the ballot, because this lowered the petition signature requirement to just around 5,000 or 6,000 votes, signatures. So they had been working on it, so they got on the ballot. So now we went from 2 parties to 5 parties overnight. That effect is still to be heard. Oh, I'm going over my time. I'm going to say one last thing, and then I guess we'll go back and around. In 2008, I distinctly remember with Mike Bunger, the election night, 2008, when we got that historic over 2%. He made a comment, I don't know exact words, but what he basically said is this is a new beginning for the Libertarian Party of North Carolina. We got to start doing things differently. And we're still trying to absorb that almost 10 years later. One of my mantras has been, we need to do what the establishment parties do, but we need to do a little bit differently. We need to get organized. We need to run candidates. We need to do legislative action. We need to be visible in the media. Yes, they ignore us most of the time, but we need to start making noise. There's some things that we just got to do. And it's things that are basically anathema to most libertarians, because we don't want to mess with government. We want government to leave us to have a law. But it is a truism that if you want to get government out of your life, you've got to take it over. That's just simple. That's just... So I went into that. I'm getting the hook from David. So we'll go back to Bobby.
I wasn't prepared for a second round. Okay. Do we have questions from the crowd?
All right, so I guess we've moved into Q&A. Wasn't really, that's great. So first, thank you. Yeah, I thought we were gonna go through the second one, but that's fine. So thank you. I mean, most importantly, thank you. I mean, it really is making a difference. When we show up at events, we were at the NAACP this past weekend, and it was almost, for the North Carolina General Assembly, basically an even number of Democrats and Libertarians. And then we had one Republican, one sad, unmugged Republican. But anyway, I mean, we were all there. I mean, it's nice. It's nice to have an audience. I mean, it happened with the Muslim American Political Action Committee too. There was an equal number of Libertarians and Democrats on the stage. And I mean, let's be fair, this is a blue county, it's trending Democrat. But to have audiences look out there and see Democrats and Libertarians and only one or sometimes zero Republicans, that's a difference there. That also sends a message. So I'm really happy with all the candidates that have showed up and are participating in these forums or helping with tabling events. And I thank you guys for making it possible. Now, on that note, questions?
Do any of the panelists have any war stories about attending early Libertarian national conventions?
I could care less about national conventions. We did have, no, I'm serious. We spent too much time with the annex that don't want a national. I've only been to 3. I go to the presidential one.
I have a war story. It's not about national convention. This is about lobbying the legislature for ballot access laws. When I went into my Democratic representative's office some years ago. He's no longer in the legislature, but I said something about I wanted him to help with ballot access, and he looked at me squarely in the face and says, "I don't want the Greens on the ballot." So, a pox on all their houses.
I mean, I've heard that from Democrats. They don't want Greens on the ballot. Republicans do. The Democrats kind of want us on the ballot.
Yeah, to back up Brian, I was actually approached by someone in the Republican Party asking what it would take to get a Green on the ballot, as if there was a magic wand or all of the small parties like had some secret, magic lodge that they it was actually pretty funny. But explaining smaller political parties too. Anyway, any other questions?
That was the motivation.
Oh, Bobby's got a war story.
I can get started on this one. I was the first of the group to ever go to a national libertarian convention. I went to the one in New York that nominated Roger McBride. So
what year was that? What year?
Yeah.
What year?
Somewhere way back. I'd call it 1976 or 1980. I'm not sure which. 76 is the consensus. And the other highlight from the national convention was at the nominating convention that I gave a seconding speech for Andre Maru, saying that he had indeed backed up what he said he was going to do. He said he was going to get North Carolina on the ballot, and he did. He did his part, and we were on the ballot.
There's a picture of Maru and his airplane in North Carolina on our website. I like that picture. You're in that picture? Yes. I'm the hippie.
All right, so we have a question and comment from Pat.
I just want to thank everybody for, you guys came on the early starts of the Libertarian Party, but all of you have been part of standing up for everybody's human rights at all times, and I want to thank all of you for being part of that. Thank you so much.
Mr. Jeffers.
So I'm Aaron Jeffers, currently working the Cumberland County Libertarian Party, and as several of you mentioned, being prior Cumberland County and Fayetteville, what advice would you give to individuals who are looking to start their own county affiliate with the Libertarian Party?
Well, that was how I got involved, organizing Cumberland County. Our biggest problem then was finding a place to stay, to have a meeting that stayed in business. We went to like 3 different restaurants and they kept closing behind them.
Preach.
One thing we did at the outset is we had a platform on local issues that dealt with, they were primarily city issues. Annexation at the time was a big thing, so we picked local issues. We put a libertarian spin on it. I myself, even before I got involved with the party, was involved with local politics and work was on city planning commission, which caused some problems. But that's no story. But the big thing is for any county is to have an event like we do here in Wake. Now we have, and it's easier for an area that's more urban to get organized than it is for a rural area, to be quite honest with you. But if you have at least a monthly event on the speaker, and it doesn't have to be a libertarian speaker. In fact, you do better not having a non-libertarian speaker, having a subject matter expert on something. You just got to treat it nice if they're, from the left or from the extreme right. You just got to treat it with dignity and respect. Listen to their point of view. You attract maybe non-libertarians to come to you. So have something, have a reason for people. People don't want to go to a meeting; they want to go to an event.
One second, I'll give it to you in a minute. First, make it fun, because people like to go places, they want to socialize, and a lot of libertarians like to drink beer for some reason. So I think that's key to have the location in a place that serves food and beer. I don't drink beer, but others do that. And the other thing is don't get discouraged. It takes a while to build up some momentum, and a small group of people can do a lot of stuff.
These are good ways of holding to your audience once you get it. But the most successful politician, elected office seeker in this state is T.J. Rohr. He is on the Lenore City Council, and he's been there since. He became famous as someone opposing local annexation. The city wanted to annex his neighborhood, and he led the operation which opposed it, unsuccessful. So once they had drafted him into the city, he ran and won, largely based on a reputation that he had built. Now, I'm not able to comment on, I've never attended one of their meetings, but I know he has a base of support. And that's something that's very valuable, especially if you're trying to win an election. And so a lot of what you said is excellent advice, but you also want to win elections, and in doing so, you need to be in a winning issue at the local level that what the voters really want to see happen. And it was a winning issue for him, even though he didn't actually win. That, from the point of view of his personal career, it was.
I would counsel you to ask for help. Get people from other areas here or statewide officers to come down and they can be your featured speakers. This type of thing. Ask for help from other people. I don't know how you would do it, but what was so successful here, like I mentioned before, was having somebody at the flea market passing out stuff. If you have a member who has a flea market type operation or has a business, if they can pass out your material, it can be influential in getting things started. Somebody's mentioned it's not going to be fast. It's not going to happen quickly, but over the period of time you'll find it. And if you look at our registration, there are registered libertarians, and you should get the list of registered libertarians for your county.
The state party also has some information about registered libertarians, dues-paying members of the Libertarian Party, and they may be in
That's an
your neck of
interesting
the woods.
point because I don't remember how I found out about this. You know, when we were meeting at Amedio's back before email and all this, I don't remember how I found you guys.
I remember, I saw a little notice in the Faithful Observer by Christian Davis, who was saying, I'm organizing the third party. And that's how I got it.
Yeah, I don't remember how I said what meeting.
Right, Amy has a question?
Brian, my question specifically for you is you talked about the bill that, helped with the ballot access. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Like, how do we work? I mean, I know it pains us, but unfortunately the Republicans and the Democrats kind of control stuff right now. So we have to work with them to get this stuff passed. Can you talk a little bit about how, we communicated with them and how we were able to, get them on board with it?
Well, you start with your own representative. How many people here know who the state senator and state representative is? That's refreshing because I don't. So you start by meeting them. It doesn't matter which party they're in. And it's persistence and perseverance. There are people, when we've been doing ballot access bills, most of my time, well, actually, I say that there's a certain number, I can name some names now. Lewis is one of them, who's currently chair of one of the members of the leadership. Speaker of the House, Speaker of the House, were at the time, on our side. They took over the majority of these swings. There was a gentleman named Paul Lupe in Durham, God rest his soul, he passed on, Democrat, who co-sponsored every bill we brought forth. So there are people in both of the old establishment parties that get it without choice. They're willing to, they may be a staunch Democrat, Republican, but they're willing to compete with the minor parties. And I get in trouble for using words like minor and the third, but that's reality. And on the other hand, you need to kind of be wary and avoid those who are, I'm perfectly happy with a two-party system. Yeah, we don't need any third party. And then one of the former speakers of the House, Democrat, the Speaker of the House, and he basically told a person that we were working with, on the ballot, I'll vote presidency. And he was Speaker of the minority leader. He was also passed on, God rest his soul. But this was one Republicans that I should talk to. So there are people in the legislature that we can work with. Just got to find them. Just got to sometimes hold your nose and deal with the system. Only way we're going to get reform. That or.
Let me add to that. The bill that passed recently, the efforts we made started long ago, 10, 15 years ago. I can't remember when our first effort in getting the ballot access bill passed were, but it wasn't just last year. It was a miracle we got it passed. We've worked relentlessly for many years, gone to many committee meetings, showed up in Raleigh for a committee meeting that didn't happen because they postponed it and canceled it. And it's ugly, it's not fun, but you gotta show up and cause those, I won't call them names. They'll do stuff to you behind your back.
Don't be afraid of being a representative. He or she says, no, I can't support you. The fact that he or she listened to you is really sometimes more important. I prefer to have somebody tell me, no, I'm not going to support you, than somebody lead me on. That's it. And look out for the lobbies.
All right. Does anybody else have a closing statement or anything they want to? No? Phil, I will back one of the statements you made. I mean, there are two people here in Raleigh who are on city council, mainly because they've gotten into big fights over zoning or development or what have you. So I didn't have to call out names. The point being is, at a municipal level, you know, it really is about people, because you can go to citizen advisory council meetings on a regular basis and be seen, and those are the people that are the movers and shakers in different neighborhoods throughout the city. And if you get to know those people, you can have an outsized impact. I will say, Rob, you know, about finding things. The good news is we're being found now. I have the equivalent, almost a cease and desist order in my back pocket. So we're being noticed online now. So good news. I'm having an impact on social media, and other people are as well. And hopefully it'll be in less trouble than I was or what have you. But no, thank you so much for, Phil has.
Am I on?
Yes, you're good.
I want to partially answer your question. Look at what's happening here. This is the most successful local organization to date in any part of our history. You may thank this gentleman and his team for achieving it. Listen to his advice, and those others that are working with him have done wonders. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have cupcakes. And so, dinner on us. Thank you so much for what you've done over the years. And some of you already have a WakeLP pint glass. Some of you don't drink beer, but if you established during the last meeting, you can put green tea in it or whatever you want. So, actually, two of you don't drink beer, which is really uncommon for libertarians. But no, thank you everyone for coming. I hope you enjoy your evening and stay around and socialize and eat some sugar in them cupcakes. Thank you, everyone. Bye.